Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. First and foremost, let me welcome all of the new people to the channel. We are now at 17,000 subscribers, almost up to 18,000. Welcome. Glad you all thought enough of the content to decide to subscribe. Hope you've been enjoying your time here in the community as well. If you're new, you probably don't know I do this type of video every 1,000 subscribers or so, where I sit in front of the camera and just pick a topic and we just talk back and forth a little bit about it. I give my thoughts and then you all provide your feedback down in the comments. And today we're going to talk about party members. I'm really looking forward to it. Should be an interesting topic of conversation. But before we get into that, let me remind everybody, in case you're brand new to the channel, this is Slandered Gaming, where we're focused on RPGs, more specifically CRPGs. So if you like the type of channels that go over lore, builds, guides, and things of that nature, definitely want to make sure you like this video, hit subscribe. And we also have a Discord if you want to hit the link in the description to join our Discord server. We've got about maybe 300 members in there, and we would absolutely welcome your presence there as well. All right, with that being said, let's get into the rankings. Before I get into my official list, I've actually got a couple of honorable mentions that I want to get out of the way that either I feel like are on the cusp, and so you all might bring them up and wonder why they're not in there, or just a couple of people that are deeply personal to me, so they don't quite break the top 10. But I feel like if I'm going to talk about a list of party members, I kind of have to bring this individual up, okay? So the first character I want to talk about is Canderous Ordo from Knights of the Old Republic. So if you watch my video ranking my top, I think it was what, 5, maybe 6 CRPGs, you already know Knights of the Old Republic is one of my all-time favorite games. And it's actually the first full game that I was able to play because I wasn't really allowed to play games when I was a kid. So when I finally got out the house, got a console, Knights of the Old Republic is the first game I played. And I really, really loved Canderous Ordo. One, I thought the Mandalorians were cool as far as their culture, their armor, meeting some of the different Mandalorians in the game. I thought all of that was handled very, very well. And speaking of their gear, I like the way Canderous's gear leveled up as you went further into the game until he finally got a full suit of Mandalorian armor and looked absolutely amazing in it. The voice actor for him was very, very nice. He had a really older affect, so he kind of came off as the statesman of the group. So that part of it was really cool. But what I really loved about Canderous Ordo the most, and this is the first time I had experienced this in a game, he's your friend whether you are evil or good aligned. So of course in Knights of the Republic, there are a lot of people who, if you decide to be a dark side Jedi, they don't want to work with you or you have to kill them off or whatever. And so, and I just kind of assumed that Canderous Ordo would be that type of person after my first run. So when I finally did my second run, which was evil aligned, and I found out, hey, he really could care less. In fact, he specifically mentions, like, I just respect you as a warrior and I want to stand by your side pretty much no matter what you do. I thought that was so, so cool at that time. You know, since then, I've come in contact with other party members, of course, that have a similar mechanic, but that was the first time I experienced it. And so it kind of almost, it always made me feel closer to him. So he's got a special place for me, even though he doesn't quite crack my top 10 list. Next on the list, Ractor from Shadowrun Hong Kong. Ractor is the first party member I've ever played with where it feels like you're almost experiencing the origin story of a supervillain. Like, I would absolutely play a third, and first of all, I'd play a third Shadowrun game regardless, as long as it was done by that same studio. But a third Shadowrun game where Ractor had finally, you know, achieved his purpose and was trying to basically have machines dominate the entire land, and you were coming together and trying to stop him. That is absolutely a game I would play. So Ractor, he's a rigger, which in that game basically means he has a combat drone that he uses to attack, as opposed to he himself being the main person who has a lot of the attack moves or specialities. but his drone is different from any other drone that you have. It's got melee and range capabilities, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. And he deeply believes in machines are going to take over everything. You should be as closely aligned to machines as possible. I'm making it sound just regular okey doke. It's not in conversations with him. The way the dialogue for him and the way he conveys his beliefs, it was just absolutely fantastic. The whole time I was talking to him, I was like, this dude is a complete psychopath. And if he's ever given any real kind of power, people are going to be in trouble. I should just shoot him now to prevent him from doing whatever it is he wants to do, but I need him, so I won't. Really, really well designed all the way around. Had a blast going through the game with him, even though I wasn't playing as a more evil aligned character. Just really, really entertaining. Shadowrun doesn't have all the bells and whistles of a lot of the other games that it's going to be on my top 10 list. So, it's not fully cinematic dialogues. There are no romances, things of that nature. And so, consequently, the content you get with Ractor is a little more limited, and that kind of keeps him off the list. But he's great. And if you love CRPGs, I would definitely recommend the Shadowrun series, and I would definitely recommend making sure you talk to Ractor. Next on the list, I want to mention a couple of Baldur's Gate 3 party members. There aren't any Baldur's Gate 3 party members in my top 10 list. If I was going to choose a couple that could break into it, it would be Will or Karlach. Will is not on this list because I've only experienced him playing as the origin character. I haven't actually had him as a party member. So I think he's someone that I like a lot, but I don't know what his romance is like. I don't know how his voice acting holds up throughout the game, all that kind of stuff. So at this time, he's not on my top 10, but maybe once I've done a full playthrough with him, that might change. Karlach is the other party member that would potentially be in my top 10. But at this time, while her personality is incredible and I really, really enjoyed her romance, and mechanically, I felt like she was really awesome as well, her actual, her storyline in her origin story is mediocre compared to all the other options and the people that are in my top 10 list. So I'm really hoping that this is an area Larian plans to show up. And by the time we get a definitive edition of the game, she's one of the party members who's going to get more content along with hopefully Minthara and some other people. But as she stands right now, while I actually feel very strongly about her and think she's very well done, she needs a little more meat before I would allow her into my top 10. So those are a couple of the honorable mentions that I wanted to bring up. Let's get into the actual full list. So starting at the bottom, number 10 on my list, HK-47 from Knights of the Old Republic. First and foremost, a fantastic robot voice. It's really easy to make a robot voice feel kind of corny, kind of clunky, kind of like the voice actor's overdoing it. HK-47 sounds picture perfect, and his dialogue is incredible. It's structured in a way where the first word in his sentence oftentimes conveys what he's trying to say, and then he says what he wants to say. So it'll be like query, and then he'll ask a question. It's awesome. It's absolutely fantastic. Extrapolation, like that stuff never got old to me. He wasn't just in Knights of the Republic. They also had him play as a major part in Knights of the Republic 2. And it was obvious why. Like, he was consistently hilarious, consistently interesting to talk to. Absolutely fantastic to have, whether you were good aligned or evil, because him being a robot, he was pretty much going to stand by your side and help you no matter what. But obviously, if you're evil aligned and making a bunch of evil choices, the banter that he provides is fantastic to say, hey, I'm with it. Let's just mow all these people down. Really, really enjoyed it. And he was great to have in combat as well. The only reason I put him at number 10 is he doesn't have a real arc. He doesn't ever really change. HK47 is always HK47. You can upgrade him, you can learn some more things about him, but that's pretty much it. So as great as he is, I put him at number 10. Number 9 on the list, Durance from Pillars of Eternity. I think there's a strong case to be made that from a main story perspective, Durance is the best party member in gaming. I don't think I've ever experienced a party member based just again on their story and their dialogue interactions they have with you in regards to their story. Like he's just absolutely incredible. Deeply foul mouthed, uncouth, violent, like just an absolute, just a disgusting person to be around. You can imagine, right? But at the same time, deeply insightful, deeply intelligent, just incredible party banter as well. A lot of your party members can't stand him, even those who do somewhat get along with him. They do so hesitantly, begrudgingly, Mechanically, he's kind of crappy, unfortunately. He's a cleric and he doesn't have the best stats for a cleric, but cleric is an incredible class in Pillars of Eternity no matter what anyway, so he doesn't really bring the team down. It's more so if you spun up your own cleric, he would probably be much better. And he has a real character arc. Like if you invest in him, if you talk to him consistently, if you're careful about your dialogue options when listening to his responses, you can absolutely shift his perspective and open up a different type of ending. But no matter which ending you get, most likely it's going to be bittersweet, which I don't always like, but in his case, I feel like it really, really fits him. And just overall, an incredible, incredible character. He was written by a guy named Chris Avalon, who went through some personal cases, personal lawsuit cases during the development of Pillars of Eternity 2. And so I'm thinking that might be the reason why Durance is nowhere to be found in the sequel. That's all been wrapped up. He's been pretty much vindicated. So I'm really, really hoping, obviously, that we get Pillars of Eternity 3, but also that if we get Pillars of Eternity 3, Obsidian will once again work with Chris Avalon, and we're going to get Durance and hopefully Grieving Mother, who's not one of my favorite party members, but absolutely one of my favorite romances in gaming overall. Number 8 on the list, Red Prince from Divinity Original Sin 2. So first and foremost, Red Prince is a lizard, and lizards have an absolutely fantastic design in the game, both from a visual standpoint and from the standpoint of their lore in the game. A lot of people have a very, very derogatory view of lizards because they're known as slavers, as these noblemen that are kind of tyrants and try to lord over everyone. And Red Prince is considered to be the absolute worst of the bunch. He has a fantastic voice that sounds very royal, very regal. It immediately sounds like, yeah, this is probably the guy in charge. And he has just great dialogue that pairs perfectly with that, that shows not only a lot of his history and why he feels the way that he does, but also he's a guy with a lot of sarcasm, a lot of wit. So even though I really like his arc, so playing as him is fantastic because you get some scenes in his character arc that you don't see with him as a party member. If you play as him, you miss out, of course, on his voice and on his personality. So I actually kind of prefer him to be a party member so that I'm able to experience all that. But honestly, he's great regardless. Like he's just a great character to have on your team. He also gets a romance. Like not only you can romance another party member, but in his actual storyline, he gets a romance, which is also very interesting. He's romancing another lizard. She has her own designs for what the lizard should become and what she wants him to do with that empire. And so it gives a really, really interesting layer to his story that you have to go through throughout the game. Just overall, I feel like it's really well done. And the ending for it, even though I feel like Divinity Original Sin 2 overall ends on a cliffhanger and we really need a third one, another game we need a third one of, Red Prince's story in and of itself, I feel like that wraps up well. By the time you get to an ending, it's like, okay, I understand what this is going from here, depending on the choices that you make. And I felt very satisfied with what I got from that story. So yeah, absolutely love Red Prince. I feel like Larian Studios did an incredible job with them. Next up on the list is Eder from Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2. So first and foremost, Eder is voice acted by Matt Mercer. Everybody on this video probably knows who he is. So you already know the voice acting is absolutely perfect. And I really like the visual design for Eder. If you look at his portrait, like he just automatically comes off as a good old boy with the straw in his mouth. And I think Matt Mercer does a fantastic job of bringing that out. I know there are some people who complain and feel like anytime they hear a character that Matt Mercer has voiced, all they hear is Mercer. But I'm not someone who consumes a lot of Critical Role content. In fact, I've only ever watched maybe one episode for about 10 minutes. So, maybe you feel that way if you're watching them constantly. But for me personally, I don't hear Matt Mercer and everything that he does. Like Eder to me sounds completely different from Minx. So I really, really enjoy the characterization and portrayal of him. In addition to that, Eder himself is just a very laid back guy. Fantastic sense of humor throughout Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2. Just consistently a very, very great guy to talk with. Has great relationships with your other party members. For the most part, they get along well. He's cracking jokes, making things better. It's just a very interesting dynamic. But at the same time, depending on the situations you get him into or what party member you have, you can also uncover some layers of racism in his personality, which I find fascinating that they would take this good old boy, good natured, good aligned character, but also give him what, some people would definitely perceive as a very, very serious character defect. And even that defect is kind of delivered in a way where it's clear, like, he doesn't mean it in an evil, even malicious way. He's like, this is just kind of who I am. Fascinating. Really, really interesting character. Great to have mechanically. Eder is consistently one of the best tanks in the game. So pretty much any team would be able to easily fit him in. I do feel like the endings for his personal quest lines in both Pillars of Eternity games should have been better. So this is yet another reason why we need another Pillars of Eternity game to kind of wrap up everything that's happened with Eder. I don't feel like the storyline for him in 1 or 2 really is wrapped up properly. So I need them to take both of them, make Pillars of Eternity 3, and then wrap up the stuff happening with Eder in a proper full way. So for the final time, Obsidian, you know what? This is going to be our task once Avowed is out. Once Avowed is out, I think there's time for a major push to say Obsidian needs to make Pillars of Eternity 3. Like that has to be on the list of things to do, regardless of how well or not well Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire did. Anyway, that's a subject for another video. Next up on the list, we have Seele from Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. So first and foremost, I really like Seele's jolly, happy, hey, we can all pull together and get it done type of attitude. Usually lawful good characters are portrayed as real sticks in the mud, almost kind of stupid, just by the book. This is how we have to do it. Seele is completely different. She tries to be very much so the glue holding people together in a positive way. And I thought that was a great change that Owlcat made and just made her a much more endearing and appealing character to have on your team. Speaking of which, when she's on your team, she absolutely fulfills that big bad holy warrior type of affect. She pretty much automatically gets a horse, and if you fully upgrade the Radiant Sword in the game, it basically looks like a holy longsword by the end. And when she's riding that horse in her plate armor with this sword of pure holy fire in her hand, it's just incredible. And it absolutely melts enemies. Man, Seele, if you build her up properly, is just an absolute wonder to behold on the battlefield. Owlcat did an incredible job with her mechanics. She has a really, really strong backstory that helps to inform her character, and I love being a part of her character arc. There's a couple of different ways she can go from a personality standpoint, depending upon how you choose to influence her. And her ending also can go multiple ways. And pretty much regardless of what you get, it's great, even if technically she doesn't get an ending because you ended up killing her off. Like that's a ending in and of itself too. The only issue that I have with Sela is I do feel like there it is possible for her to leave your party because she feels like you're too evil, right? But there are a couple of instances in the game where you can do very, very evil things, but she still sticks around when I feel like she shouldn't. I feel like, hey, based on this happening, you should either decide that I'm irredeemable and attack me, or at the very least just leave the team and say this is not something that I can align with. But instead, she just keeps going with you. And so I feel like, unfortunately, that weakens things a bit. I'm looking forward to, obviously, I'd like Owlcat to do another Pathfinder game. But when and if that happens, I really like it when characters are more hardline, when they have a way that they look at the world. Like Baldur's Gate 3, I know a lot of people are upset that, you can end up losing good aligned party members depending on choices that you make. But I love that. I don't feel like the problem is that you lose good aligned party members. I think the problem is there's no replacement, but I appreciate it when characters are more hardline, and Sela's missing a little bit of that. Next up on the list, we have Leliana from Dragon Age Origins. So first and foremost, she's got a really great exotic sounding voice, right? Like when I first played the game and I heard her voice, I was like, I wonder where she's supposed to have, come from, and what experiences she's had, right? So I feel like right from the start, her voice kind of pulls you in. She is a fantastic storyteller. Fantastic storyteller. I remember to this day the feeling of going to the first camp in Dragon Age, and I had my first full conversation with her, and it felt like I was talking to her for like 15 minutes straight, and it was all enthralling. It was all, wow, that was a really great story. Oh, you've got another great story. Oh, you've got more to say. Oh, by all means, let's just keep it going. Like, it's just amazing talking to her. She's been through so much. She's experienced so much. She has a very interesting perspective on what she's experienced. And yeah, I loved having her on my team. She has an awesome romance. She's romantic in and of herself, so it doesn't feel like you're doing all of the work. Just really great experience of that. She's useful in combat. I think Archer is amazing. I've seen some people before online trying to down archery in Dragon Age Origins. I don't know what they're smoking. And being an archer, if you build it up right, is absolutely fantastic. You can completely light up enemies. And I feel like Leliana is an awesome part of the Dragon Age series, even moving into other games where you can't have her as a party member. Like even in Dragon Age Inquisition, you're rarely fighting with her, but it's still just having that voice, having that presence, having that perspective. It's just awesome to play a part in the storyline. Definitely one of the strongest party members I've ever experienced, in part because of what you have in Origins. But again, her content in other parts of the series as well helps build her up even more. And then next on the list, we're getting into the top 4 party members now. So number 4 is Ember from Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. First and foremost, Ember has a very striking visual design. She went through a really, really bad burning incident. And so you can see that on her hands and on her face. And she looks very young, and her voice is very young. It's childlike, even though she herself is not a child. And so all of that together from a visual standpoint, it makes her very striking. It makes it so before you even really know her personality or know what she's about, she's somebody you want to protect. Somebody you want to say, hey, stick with me. Everything's going to be okay. Usually, I don't like having kid-like characters on my team. I've pissed off some people before saying this, but that's one of the reasons I don't really rank Tali all that high, because in Mass Effect 1, I pretty much looked at Tali as a kid. And I'm like, why would I bring this kid around with me and put her in a position where she's taking all this gunfire and in all these dangerous situations? I put her on the ship. And so even though I feel differently about her in Mass Effect 2 and 3, there's a part of me that always kind of stuck with me that, she's really a kid. She belongs on the ship and I should be taking other people, right? And so that's at first how I felt about Ember. Like, okay, this is somebody I want to take and somebody I want to protect, but I'm never going to bring her around with me. That ended up not being the case because Ember's dialogue is sorry. Reminded to take my medication. Ember's dialogue is fantastic. In fact, I think there's a real good case to be made from a party banter standpoint. Ember is the best party member in gaming. The things she says about other party members you're with, especially when you have characters that are a little more evil aligned, like Windewalk or Darren, they are so insightful. And a lot of times they even the comments surprise other party members that she's with. And it's just really, really awesome to behold. There are so many more layers to her than what you can see at first, or even what other party members give her credit for. Her mechanics in combat, absolutely fantastic. She's great at attacking. She's great at attacking with spells. She's decent at healing, and she's a fantastic debuffer as well. So she can play multiple roles. Just absolutely incredible to have on the team. She gets a really, really good ending as well. There are a couple of different ways her stories can go, but all of it feels true to her character. So I felt pretty satisfied by the end of her story, even if I went in a more evil aligned direction. Speaking of which, she's one of the few characters in gaming that if I'm an evil aligned character, I feel bad about harming. Like, y'all know, I play evil aligned all the time. I massacre my party members with no with ruthless abandon. All right, Ember's one of the rare times when I was like, damn, I actually feel bad I had to do that to her. I still do it, but but I feel bad about it afterwards. All right, next on the list, top 3 party members. And it's actually another Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous party member, Windewalk. So first and foremost, Windewalk has an extremely distinctive, gravelly voice. I really, really like it. I think that's another type of voice that can easily be really corny for people to do, that you're just going the extra mile to try to sound evil. I feel like Windewalk's voice actress does a fantastic job of conveying her as a creature who's essentially mutated, and even her vocal cords sound different. Speaking of mutation, she's got these spider legs coming out of her back, while she's got these yellow cat-like eyes and dark skin. It is all an incredible character design. Really, really distinctive. Love seeing her portrait. I think just all the way around, the design team deserves a round of applause for how distinctive she looks in the game. I also really enjoy her personality. She is someone who is desperate to lean on power. She's trying to find ways to protect herself and gain more power, and she's decided the best way to do that is to be as evil and ruthless as possible in the service of someone who she sees as greater. So that means she is almost open to a slavery type relationship where she knows you're her master and she's going to just do whatever it is you tell her to. But at the same time, she's someone who cannot be trusted because she's going to just align with whoever she sees as more powerful. And it's very easy to end up in a situation where she ends up turning against you. So I loved doing a playthrough where I'm romancing her and I'm trying to get her to like me, but the whole time I'm not really sure if I'm actually convincing her to be loyal to me and she's truly on my side. It's really, really difficult to end the game with what Wrath of the Righteous calls I think it's called True Soulmates, where essentially your partner has decided, hey, I truly love you and I'm truly loyal to you and invested in you. When to walk, there's a bunch of things you have to do in the game and you have to catch in the game. And sometimes you might not even realize you didn't catch it until it's too late in order to be able to get that type of ending. So pursuing it was absolutely fantastic. She is deliciously evil, absolutely loves just about every single evil thing you can do in the game, and will vocally make it clear how much she's appreciating being able to witness this firsthand. She's fantastic in combat. Just about any martial range build will take full advantage of the statistics she starts with, and she's got a character arc that obviously is very enjoyable if you decide to stay on the evil path, but she can also be redeemed. So even if you're a good aligned character, there are ways to try to pull her from the brink and make her understand that there's a different way to deal with people. Just all the way around, really, really nice character. She's got several layers of different endings that you can enjoy. Outcat did a fantastic job with her, and I think she was the best party member in Wrath of the Righteous. Number 2 on the list, another Dragon Age Origin character, is Morrigan. So first and foremost, obviously, Morrigan is fantastic because she's voiced by Claudia Black, who is amazing in just about anything she does, whether it be full all-out actress in Farscape or voice acting as Morrigan. But part of what makes her makes the character amazing, in addition to the voice, is that she's really got a fantastic introduction. When you first meet Morrigan, she's trying to figure you out as much as you're trying to figure her out. And you very quickly meet her mother, Flemeth, who is also a major character in the Dragon Age series. And both of them are just as interesting. So the fact that her mother is so intriguing makes Morrigan even more intriguing as well. And then when you actually get her on her team, get her on your team, she's still going through the process of figuring out culture and what how different people operate and how do you interact with different people. But at the same time, she's someone who on some levels is pretty worldly and knowledgeable herself. So it's almost like she's trying to learn about the world, but she also has a lot to teach the world as well, which makes her banter and dialogue with your other party members fantastic. Because on the one hand, she's kind of learning things from them, but on the other hand, she looks down upon them because she feels like, I'm really better than most of you and understand things better than most of you. She's fantastic to have on the team from a mechanical standpoint. Spellcasting is great in Dragon Age. And while Morrigan, there's a case to be made. She's not as good to have as Wynn. She's still great. You're not losing that much. So I enjoyed having her on the team. And specifically about spells, I enjoyed her perspective on magic, which the whole idea of how spellcasters should be handled is a big deal in the Dragon Age series. Most spellcasters are locked up in towers and only allowed to come out and use their spells when the Chantry or largest religious institution allows them to. Morrigan is completely outside of that system, hanging out in the forest with her mother and basically able to use spells and roam about as she pleases. So she brings a completely different perspective on how mages should be handled and the Templars that are responsible for essentially jailing them. Her romance is just absolutely phenomenal as well, because she starts out as someone who it's really hard to get her to warm up to you. It takes a lot of conversation, takes a lot of work. And so by the time you get to the end, where it's clear she feels significantly closer to you, it feels like there's a whole arc there. There's been a lot of development. And finally, we reached this point where, we realize we both deeply care about each other. I do feel like the ending leaves something to be desired, not within Dragon Age Origins itself, but because for a lot of players, especially if you romance Morrigan, you get a certain type of ending that should continue in other games. And I'm not satisfied with the way that it's continued in other games. We'll see what happens with Dread Wolf. It finally gives us the payoff that hasn't really happened for the past 3 games, but I don't have high hopes. I've already made a whole video about how I feel about Dragon Age Dreadwolf and all that kind of stuff. You all can check that out if you please. But I don't have high hopes for what we're going to get out of this fourth Dragon Age game. And so it doesn't give me confidence that we're going to get the true not consolation. What is it called when closure? I had to look up that damn word, closure. If we're going to get some real closure to the ending that we get with Morgan in Dragon Age Origins, we shall see. But regardless, she's a fantastic character. Similar to Leliana, she has a presence throughout the series, and it's obvious why. Just some of BioWare's best work, no doubt. And then finally, I don't think there's any surprise for anyone about who's number one. If you've played the Mass Effect series, he's probably your number one party member as well. Garrus Vakarian from the clan Vakarian. Man, this guy is the ultimate bro. He is the ultimate, hey, dude, you want to be renegade and mow all these people down? I'm good with it. You want to be diplomatic and try to find the kindest, sweetest way to get all these people to work together? I'm good with that too. Shepard, whatever you want to do, I want to do it too. Let's make it happen. Garrus is absolutely fantastic. And it starts with the design of the Turians, which is incredible, very, very distinctive. They have thousands of years of lore and history that the game, obviously the series delves into it, but even from the very first game, reveals a lot of it, really makes them come across as a fully developed alien race. Their armor, when you use it on them, it looks completely different as well and fits their, well, oddly shaped bodies. Like, it's just all fantastic. BioWare did an incredible job of giving us really a lot of different alien species in the Mass Effect series that all felt like they were fully developed. And so that's the cool thing as well. It's not just that the Turians are built up well, it's that there are a bunch of alien races around them that are also have their own lore, thousands of years of history, and then the game explains how the Turians' relationship with these different groups and why they work together and how this ecosystem functions. It's amazing, and Garrus gives you that viewpoint into some of that culture. But at the same time, he's kind of outside of it because he's different from a lot of other Turians that you'll meet. So another thing that I really like about Garrus is his voice. He's from the very, very beginning, from your first time meeting him, his voice just really conveys intelligence. You're not surprised to find out this guy is an officer and that he's investigating something. Like, he just comes across as that type of guy who's extremely analytical. Again, I've already said he's down for you whether you're good or evil. He's also great in combat. He really specializes in being a sniper. He's got this little iPad thingy with a reticle on it, making it clear that he's meant for long range combat, which is great to use in Mass Effect. He has fantastic banter with just about all of your party members, even those who really don't like aliens all that much. Well, I won't even say those. Specifically, I guess Ash would be one, and then Rex won't like Turians, but Rex and Garrus in a group together is actually great. They'll slowly build up the relationship and find out, you know what, we actually do like each other. And while our separate species have a lot of problems, we get along. Just great, great stuff. He changes a great deal over time, and your relationship changes with him because Shepard, the main character you play in Mass Effect, he's affected so much by things that happen to him. His station, even though he's always a Spectre, his status really kind of rises. It falls in Mass Effect 2 and then shoots up in Mass Effect 3. So Garrus kind of rises with you and becomes someone who's really looked at by the Turians as a figure who should be respected. So this is absolutely fantastic. He's great whether you romance him or not. If you play as a female Shepard, you have the option of romance. to be honest with you, that always felt kind of weird. To me, Garrus is the Frit. And I'm not saying that because I'm a guy. Like, I roll as a female all the time and romance guys. But it seems to me that Garrus is really the ultimate friend. He's the ultimate by your side buddy who's going to help you do whatever it is that you want to do. So regardless of whether or not you're in a romance, you're going to feel close to him. But over and above all of this, the final scene with Garrus is just absolutely incredible. It's just absolutely incredible. Like, if you read about it and look that up, you'll see this long wall of people who said it brought them to tears. It didn't bring me to tears because I was already crying because I talked to Ashley beforehand. So I was already there. So when I got to Garrus, it's like, oh damn, I guess I'm not gonna stop crying yet. Like the entire that last sequence in Mass Effect 3 is just incredible. But Garrus is the pinnacle. Like Garrus is when you finally know, okay, this is it. Everything is over, and we're gonna go for it. And it's just the ultimate end to everything that you have went through. Out of all the party members on this list, Garrus has the best ending. Garrus is the one where it's like, if you look at that ending, the whole journey is worth it. And that is my top 10 list of my party members from the games that I've played thus far. Of course, there are more games that I need to play. So if you feel like there's an incredible party member who should be on this list that maybe is with a game that I haven't played yet, by all means, leave me a comment down below, or just in general, if you disagree with this, if you feel like Tali should be #1 or whoever, let me know. I'm looking forward to hearing what your top 10 party member list looks like. And as always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Take care.